Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Andy here.
Tim here.
David here.
Jack here.
Rick here.
Chris here.
Mike here.
Simon here.
Nico here.
Steve here.
Tom here.
Tell us what to do. I think that's the easiest thing.
Good to see you too again, man.
What's my name? I don't remember. I've been on tour too long.
Noel here.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
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 I'm Johnny. Hello. Welcome to our compilation show for this year. We are rounding up all the wonderful, amazing, inspiring guests we've had on.
We've been lucky boys this year.
It's been a stellar year for artists, so we've stuck some clips together. Please enjoy them, some of the highlights of the lovely people we've met this year.
We have Pete Thorn with us today.
In a land before time.
That guy. You know.
Yeah, you could
The trailer guy.
so do that.
Sorry, Mick. You don't have any air
I
protection.
feel young again. I feel young again.
David Rainger from Rainger Effects. You know, design a nice square box for things to fit in. It's one thing.
Yeah.
But you thought what's necessary with this pedal is that there's not a right angle anywhere near it.
It's a pain in the arse is what it is. When you're designing it.
Yeah, we've taken over that pedal show for the day, and we're coming here to steal all the gear.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it's
What
a
was the
fantastic
brief?
idea.
What was mission briefing, Pete?
What's the
Play
mission
what
brief?
you've
It's
never
just-
played before, wasn't it?
I think
Or-
just come in here, have a look around, and just point at some stuff that you either would really like to try to play, or something that you've never played before. And I had to just pick this stuff because,
What have you picked then?
well, I've picked.
What's the guitar?
This is 1961 Stratocaster. And it's a really cheap guitar with only 3 settings. You have to.
Has it not got a 5-way?
No. You know what? I'm feeling that here in my solar play.
Jesse who was one of the singers in the classic rock show, the most eloquent, brilliant little piece of advice when it comes to that kind of confidence versus stage fright or whatever. Recently on my live stream, he just joined me because we were sharing a dressing room last Sunday, and he happened to be sitting there, and he came over and ended up sitting down, and we had a great live stream, and it was totally not planned. But I asked him almost the same question, like, that confidence thing, and what if you're, how do you, like, if you're going to do something difficult vocally, or how do you get that confidence so you don't back off and not, and he goes, if you're in that headspace, I think like it's almost coming from a selfish place of like, oh, I'm worried about me right now. I'm worried about me looking bad or my, like from an ego perspective.
Very, very good.
And he said, I'm more thinking about the audience. They've paid to come see the show, and how do I want to make them feel right now? How do I want to make them feel? And if you get in that, what do I want them to feel right now? And oh my God, I was like, dude, that's
It's heavy.
It's eloquent and beautiful way to say, like, put your, get out of your own thing. What do you want to make them feel? And it kind of tends to just come out through your hands at that point. Let's
That's
make
beautiful.
these people feel
That's
great
really
right
beautiful.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
so, I was like, oh, thank you for that. I
Yeah.
said, because it was so well said.
If we were using something like vodka or a clear liquid, schnapps maybe, that has a really ragged, high trebly intensity.
Yep.
We shouldn't be putting that in the pit.
I'm definitely throwing it down the flipping sink.
Oh.
Hang on, instead of white noise, why don't we have the sound of a massive rocket launching?
In the end. Wow, man. How good does that sound?
We got a very surprised text message from Mr. Rick Beato.
Indeed, indeed.
Sent down a text. Welcome, Rick, by the way.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you
being
so
here.
much for coming, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Incredible.
Sent down a text saying, you guys around. I'd like to drop in and visit. And we're like, what? He's coming here? So we said, yeah,
It's
of
not
course.
Mick Beato, is it? No.
So welcome, Rick. If you don't know who Rick is,
You're living under
push
a
the
rock.
rock off,
Yes.
get out and go and Google him and look at his YouTube channel, because where are we now, Rick?
Around 3.5 million. If you listen to Stairway to Heaven, when Jimmy Page comes in, you have the guitar in, I believe it's in the left speaker, and the reverb is in the right speaker.
Yeah.
And then the recorders come in. John Paul Jones does a 4-part recorder thing. And so that's in the right speaker, but the reverb of that is in the left speaker. This used to be how stereo imaging was done. Andy Johns did that.
Yeah.
These guys that are brilliant mixing engineers, recording engineers, knew how to create stereo. Angie by the Stones. Guitar comes in one speaker, the reverb's in the other speaker. Van Halen comes in, you know.
You did a great video on that.
Yeah, so this was a common thing to create stereo. You take a mono sound and put the reverb in the other speaker, which was done like with Van Halen. That's after the reverb, is done in the control room, let's say.
And that's just the wet reverb, right?
Wet reverb,
Just no dry signal in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just in the other speaker. And this was a common thing in the 70s to do that, to use that kind of wet dry thing, but between two speakers to create a stereo image.
Really honoured to have Chris Shiflett. You'll know Chris from the Foo Fighters and all of his solo. I'm a little bit excited to be
I'm
here.
excited, man. I'm on that pedal show with you guys. So that's my go-to tone.
Joined by the wonderful Mr. Tim Lerch today, who is over here with doing a guitar breaks. So lucky people get to hang out with Tim for a whole weekend and pick his brains on all of this amazing stuff. Mate, thank you so much for coming in. This is awesome.
It's my pleasure. I just can't believe how fun it's going to be. The guitar's never in tune. So what we do is I do the, check it out. That's a lovely modulation effect.
Yeah.
If I do this, put some angels in there. and it's not hurry or this, it's just a little gentle.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I'm doing too much over here, I don't wiggle it. I just play this. Sometimes people see this when they see Ted. They say, what does he have, a palsy or something? No, he's milking it over here with his forearm.
That is gold.
And then down here, you got to be careful because it'll go,
But you might want that.
Maybe
sometimes,
you do.
right?
And I also pin the guitar here.
Yeah.
And the things that people don't think about a lot of times is that sounds that you hear on records are going through a recording console. They're going through, they might go through, if it's a record from the 70s, it was done on tape, it comes from a microphone. It could be a tube mic, let's say it's a 57, just one mic, comes into the console, a Neve console. Well, you got a couple transformers in the preamp section. You have you go through the EQ section. Even if you engage it and don't EQ anything, that creates a different amount of harmonic distortion. Then it comes out of the console. You might go through, if it's a cleaner sound, might go through an LA2A, and you go through some tubes, a compressor. And then you go into the tape machine, hits the tape, and get some more harmonic distortion from the tape. Then it comes back out into the console for playback. And then when you're mixing it, everything's going to a 1/2-inch 2-track and getting more harmonic distortion. I mean, sometimes a guitar sound back in the day could have gone through 12 different transformers and taped twice.
Yeah.
So to think that a guitar sound is that, whether it's Mark Knopfler or Eddie Van Halen or Brian May, that a guitar sound is what they played in the room, you got to take into account, how was it EQ'd on the mix down in the control room? Was the tape speed manipulated? Did they slow the thing down or speed it up, which changes the tone, right?
Totally.
So there's so many different elements that when you're trying to mimic a guitar tone, I'd be like, I might say to somebody, I'm trying to get this Van Halen thing. It's like, well, that's EQ'd on the console anyway. So you're never going to get exactly what it is. You can get close. I mean, I'm just saying, for example, but rarely do the people not engage some type of EQ.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or even, as you say, the very fact that it's running through all that gear has an effect in itself.
Gives it a little more oomph, That's that. And then you can put it, you can do the, do that with a little delay.
There's three things, briefly, three kind of things we can call practicing, and we don't always make a distinction. And I think it's helpful to make a distinction. One is the learning part. And my opinion is you learn a small thing, you learn it well, and you don't learn too much of it.
Right. Little bite-sized chunks.
Bite-sized chunks. So I say, maybe I make a little joke about it. I say, take small bites, chew them well, and then you can then you'll be able to digest.
Very good. That's very good.
So then the next thing, probably the most important thing, is the repetitions, what I call the practicing. So you learn and then you practice. You have to practice the thing you learned efficiently and enough so that you can actually use that thing, particularly in an improvisational capacity, but even in playing a fixed piece. And then the third thing, which I think is also very important, is what I call the performance, which is when you actually play music. And that's when you turn back into a musician. You're not a student anymore. You're playing.
Right.
And all three of those things have to be in a balance. And the final thing is there are three different kinds of mindsets for those three things, and all the gray that flows in between. The first, the learning part, the mind is very active, very judgmental, very articulate, and we want to make it right. We want to learn without mistakes, slowly. We want to control environment, right? And that might only last 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but it's very much the mind is ruling the roost, right? The repetition part, I mean, like I say, you can watch golf and do that. And it's a relaxed mind that still has some attention on the details, but it's relaxed.
Right.
It's not a sweatshop.
Okay.
And then the third mind is almost nothing.
I love that.
We are joined today by the wonderful Rabea.
Rabea Massaad, old friend of ours. Actually, he's not that old. We're just old friends.
Γεια σας! Καλώς ήρθατε στο That Pedal Show. Ο Dan εδώ. Ο Μίκης εδώ.
Yannis here. Hello. Perfect, guys.
Perfect. There we go. We've been working on that for literally minutes before you got here. So, yeah, great. Tis Yannis from Jam Pedals. We also have the other gentleman.
This is Ilias. This is Emmanuel, Manolis. They are Jam Pedals. Maybe we'll hear from them in a little bit. But for now, check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Mr. Mike Van Aert joining us today. And I'm so excited.
Finally.
Lo and behold, watching Stormzy at Reading.
Oh, yeah.
And out pops you
Yeah.
to open the whole thing.
Yeah, I only found out about that bit like 2 days before, a day before. And the whole time we'd been doing pre-production was in a rehearsal space, but it was only when we did the dress rehearsal, which was 2 days before Reading, that they were like, right, so that X in the center, you need to walk out there. So like we did the thing and I walked out and I'm like doing it and there's like pyros and stuff. But there was no one else on stage, and I sort of pulled the show director to the side and went, is it just me at the start? They were like, yeah. Like, so I was completely like paralyzed with like fear at that point. And then right before we went on, Kojo, the MD's like hanging around in the wings, and I'm like obviously very nervous because this is the first gig out of lockdown as well. Like I hadn't played for a couple of years.
Way to do it.
So I was pretty nervous, and it was also I was running my quad cortex on time code. So it's being changed on its own.
Right.
And I've never done anything like that, relinquishing control that much. So the whole thing's just like, oh, this is so intense. So I thought I just need to warm up on the side. And then he comes over and he's like, oh, I love these pre-broadcast vibes side of the stage. And I was like, so broadcast? He's like, yeah, man, BBC. And I'm like, I had no idea. It was going to be on BBC till about 2 minutes before we went on. And then in your ears, your in-ear monitors, you've got, right, backing track, walk-in music, and go. And you're just like, walk on stage. And it was amazing.
It's been basically a completely mythical, almost a joke of a band for about 12 years. I started playing for Biffy in 2010, and, you know, we were partying a lot more, staying up late and listening to the most extreme music we could find. That was, since I met Simon in 2002, that's basically been the basis. Much of our relationship is just playing each other the most mental things we could find, the most left field, be it metal or be it anything, psychedelic stuff or, anything. And then it was always the dream from back then that we would have our own freaky band. I programmed all the drums and, making demos for Simon. And then the guitar always said Tony Iommi. The bass track always said Shane Embury from Napalm Death. And the drums, as I programmed them, always said Dave Lombardo. And then when it came to it, we were sort of sending tapes to all our friends who we knew who drums. We weren't casting the net that wide. It's like, who do we know who we want to be in a band with? And they all came back going, I can't do that. I can do all of that double kick stuff, no chance. And I was like, shit, man, we need somebody who plays like Dave Lombardo. Who would that be? And it was like, and this is kind of a running thing in my life, to be quite honest. Just like, all you've got to do is ask sometimes, you know. Right. And that's how I ended up sort of doing the Biffy job as well. I'd read in interviews that they were on about getting another guitar player, and I was like, it's me! Look no further. No, if nobody's going to do it better than me. I'm telling you that now. And I'm still doing it now. That was like 15 years ago or something.
All right. Well, there you go.
That's amazing.
Just ask.
All you got to do is ask.
Simon McBride, the new guitar player for Deep Purple, join us in the studio today. Far out, man. Okay, hey everyone. So Dave has turned up. We're going through the board now. I'm just going to take Dave through the features. So if I just...
It looks like the second coming or something. These huge spotlights and the screen exploding in colour when Roger hits it and playing the high notes. And, yeah, but actually, really, I was just stood on this kind of like a cherry picker.
Right.
So it's really wobbly. You're not strapped in or anything crazy like that. You're just stood there, balanced, and it's almost like standing on a boat.
Up that high?
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So, and I had to learn very quickly how to do that, because there's a part in the solo which kind of went up to there, so I'd do that, and the whole thing would just move. So I had to play kind of slightly with bent legs like this, so right. Kind of like a kung fu kind of thing. So you bend, you do that, but you do that, so you shift your body weight. It's ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stephen Wilson is here, and we also have the wonderful Nico.
What I love about Nico is all the solos have this beautiful sense of architecture about them.
Sure.
And I don't know, he's going to talk about this, but I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing he spends a lot of time constructing and considering the solos, which is what I do, partly because I'm not good enough to be able to improvise anyway. And I feel like that with Nico. When Nico presents me with a solo, not only, one of the things I always say to Nico is, I want strange, beautiful.
Yeah, that's what you said. Weird, beautiful.
beautiful.
Weird beautiful.
Yeah, that's
because I don't want regular pentatonics. I don't want those sort of bluesy solos, but I still want something very melodic and very beautiful. But I want you to surprise me with your choice of notes. I want you to surprise me with maybe the tone, the direction, the narrative of the solo. And he's brilliant at that.
When you see purple, you see my rig, there's like 6 4x12s.
Of course there is.
Has to be, it's
It's just so right. It's 2023 and we're talking about 4x12.
Come on.
Yeah, it's 6 4x12s, and that's been the name of my new solo album, 6 4x12s. But I don't use them all. And in fairness, it's a stereo rig, so the middle two aren't on.
This is kind of a nice. Yeah, it's not even in stereo yet, but with the the whole whirly goodness is that makes me happy.
It really, me too. It's beautiful.
One of the great things about the modern age that we live in now, we're recording on very high resolution computer technology, almost from the very beginning of a germ of an idea.
Right.
So, for example, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the best you could do was make a sort of very rough demo. In the 80s, people had Porter studios, they could make sort of lo-fi demos. Now, we don't have to think really I don't think in terms of the demo stage and the master stage.
Right.
For me, you're creating the master from the moment you have a creative spark. And the reason you're able to do that is because you're able to record even the roughest ideas, very high resolution onto computer. So if you're happy with the performance, why try and recreate it? And the reason that's significant to me is I've always believed, certainly in my case, the moment you write a song, the moment you come up with the vocal melody, the moment you come up with the lyrics is when you are the closest to the sentiment or that feeling and that sentiment, that moment. You always think, oh yeah, I'll do this properly later.
Right.
And then 3 weeks later, 3 months later, 2 years later, you're like, I can't better that. Or, I mean, I can better it. Technically, I can better it. But in terms of the feeling, the sentiment, the connection I have between the words, the vocal melody and the sentiment of the song, I can never capture that again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andy Wood has joined us for the day. Hoorah!
This is Tom Trones. How do we say it properly, Tom?
Tom Trones, that's fine.
Yeah.
What's the actual real problem? What's the real problem?
Yeah, I mean, if you're exposed to loud sound over long enough, then you will lose parts of your hearing, start to acquire hearing damage. And that's something that is quite natural for most people as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
There's a natural age-related hearing loss. But what's called noise-induced hearing loss, which in our case usually isn't noise, it's chosen just loud sound.
Right.
It accelerates that process a lot. And, for musicians like us, it can be, career-ending, basically, if it comes too soon. So we would like, especially musicians to have as long a career as could be, and then not be bothered by tinnitus or early noise-induced hearing loss.
Ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary Jocelyn Guild is here with us today.
I love tone, and I feel like I've had an acceptable tone for most of my life, but in the post,
there speaks a true guitar player.
Acceptable, but in the post, Andy Timmons' friendship, and I call him Obi-Wan. That's like Obi-Wan to me. It's like he's really not just been like this guy that's like, hey, press this button, buy this thing.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
He's so in tune with sound and tone and looking for the nuance that it's really helped me. He's been more of a mentor than he realizes, because it's like, yeah, man, okay, it's okay to chase this, and it's okay to go down the rabbit hole on what I'm looking for, and pushing yourself for excellence beyond acceptable.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it's I got to have a great clean tone. I've got to have a, lead rhythm, all the things. The thing that really helped was not making the same preset with different mix levels over and over again.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was one of the things. The first time I saw him do it, I was like, oh, yeah. And so that's why I have the little Dunlop on the end that just controls the wet and dry of the Strymon. And now when I'm playing a ballad, like with flats or something, I can have that really lush, crank it all the way up, and you end up with that.
A lot of people with hearing damage have thrown their hands up in the air and said, that's it. I'm done. It's forever over. But you said your wife has had some great success.
Yeah. So she's doing evidence-based therapy for hyperacusives, so that's oversensitivity to sound, and tinnitus, and also misophonia, where you react very strongly to certain types of sound, for example, chewing. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of hearing-related issues that's not necessarily hearing damage.
Sure.
But has a great impact on people's quality of life. And a lot of the common theme is that the patients maybe go to the doctor and hear that, oh, tinnitus, you can't do anything about it, or that's it's permanent or something like that. But when you go to these kind of specialist audio therapists, there's really a story of hope, because there's a very high success rate of
that's wonderful.
That's
really wonderful.
Living with these things and maybe making it going away altogether.
And indeed, a misdiagnosis if the specialism isn't to do with hearing.
Yeah.
Think of it as sort of waving to a baby. Like, that's the motion. It's an even motion. It's not like a plucking motion. You're just moving your fingers through the strings. And you want some some flesh and a little bit of nail too. That's the sound that I'm going for is both. So I don't keep that long of nails. And I'm so weird. I just get obsessed with like, can I make this good? Angle of the pick is also huge for me. So check this out. This is just pick kind of flat on, perpendicular to the strings. And this is the side of the pick. Isn't that wild? Isn't that incredible?
Assume maybe there'll be a diagram here to help make some sense of this, but it sends out to an external loop here on the side. So that can be useful used for effects loops,
Mhm.
full cable method. If I want to just throw another pedal in there that I don't have on the board, another gain pedal or whatever, that can slot into that loop. So aside from that, it also houses a couple of other pedals. The other side of the HX Stomp, as I mentioned before, so all of the post-gain effects, and the UA Lion.
I found my place in the world on a record called Junktown, which like I came up with this riff. That's fair enough.
The years, they came and went, and each season was new. But I just haven't managed to forget you. I often find you on my mind. I guess I just couldn't see. I wonder if you've managed to forget me. There's a reason why we went our own way. After so many days, why can't I just get you off my mind? We used to have so much fun, but other times we didn't. But I just haven't managed to forget you. after so many days, why can't I just get you off my mind? We used to have so much fun, and other times we fuss, and I keep finding myself wondering if you found someone to hold on to, 'cause I just haven't managed to forget you.
What an absolute honour and treat. We are in Lone Star Studios, Noel's studio in London, and we're going to hang out and talk guitars and make some noise and pedals and everything. Mate, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm a fan of the show.
It's Johnny Marr.
Wow. It is finally happening.
It is happening.
We've been talking about this for a long time, and a lot of you have been asking for this for a long time, and we are delighted and honoured, Johnny, to be here at your studio.
You're welcome. It's great. We don't get many visitors. Nice to see you guys. For some reason, I used to tune up a whole step. Most other people always tune down, don't they? Perverse, right out of the box, the Smiths, right? So I used to use light strings and tune up. That's what the guitar did, really.
So Dan made me a board, right, about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was great. But he refused, right? He refused. I said to him, mate, the thing is though, when I'm playing, I'm doing a dance, right? I don't want to think about it. I was going, you couldn't make your knobs any bigger, could you? And he said, no. And I was like, okay, be like that then. Okay, I only fucking wrote Wonderwall.
Well, that was brilliant. Wasn't that amazing?
Lots of good memories.
Oh, man.
What a year, what a year, what a year.
So good. And looking forward to some more superb people to hang out with in 2024.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll do this all again. Okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting That Pedal Show. Hope you're having a lovely holiday season, should you be celebrating it. Please go to That Pedal Show store, buy stuff.
Indeed.
It's how we fund this show. Please subscribe, hit the button, costs you nothing, helps us out. And other stuff. Check the thing. Go and have a lie down. It's been a long day. And we'll see you next year.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.